What's going on, YouTube? It's Mr. Young, 702, checking in, get some things together. All right, here we go. Thank you, everybody who's been subscribing, commenting, leaving me little things in my inbox, asking me where I've been. Did the government kill me? I actually got one of those. Thank you, everybody, because I've been totally absent. I don't even really comment on my videos no more. Appreciate it. But let me get into this video. I have not seen American Sniper yet, but I don't know how, because I'm actually pretty excited about it. But I have seen all of the Michael Moore liberal mush mush comments that have come from people who oppose Chris Kyle's views from his book. And these people are upset because of the way Chris Kyle spoke about the people he was sent to kill. I don't know if that makes any sense to you or not, but Chris Kyle was so full of hate in his book because of the way he talked about the person on the other end of his scope. I don't know if you understand what that means. Listen to me carefully. He's mad because Chris Kyle, Michael Moore in particular, said some negative things about somebody he was about to kill. I want this to really resonate what I'm telling you. He wanted Chris Kyle, according to the only way to make what he's saying make sense. He wanted this man to be looking through the scope of this gun, looking at somebody and thinking, wow, nice shoes. You know, these are beautiful people. This guy right here looks pretty awesome. I bet you if I wasn't going to blow his head away as soon as the government gives me the go-ahead to do it, I could probably see myself hanging out at a bar with this guy and throwing back a cold one and heading to the strip club later on. That makes no sense. That whole ideology makes no sense. What you're seeing from Chris Kyle is his training. You're seeing how else can you take an American citizen who's been living in America his whole life, the closest he's probably come to violence is, or military violence, is war video games. And you take this little kid, put him through some training, and you send him to another country and say, if I point at another human being, you take his life. The only way to accomplish that is what happens in that 13 weeks of training that every Marine goes through, and the access weeks of training that every Special Forces person goes through, and however, was it 9 weeks for the Army, or 10 weeks for the Army, 6 weeks for the Air Force, some crap. That bit of training is to take your identity and replace it with what the American government thinks you should be. You're property of the American government. So if the American government says you should hate that thing so much that you should want to spend the rest of your life annihilating it, that's what you do. Because you're trained. You're trained to do this. My brother was a Marine. He was his MOS was 0310, 0301, 0310. He was basically light infantry. He was a grunt. He comes back from Afghanistan, or no, he comes back from Iraq. I apologize. He was in Iraq. He comes back from Iraq, and I'm doing spoken word, and one of my artists, and I'm doing like recording hip hop music and all this other stuff. One of my artists was a local artist from Iran. You know, she's Middle Eastern. My brother thought these girls, and she had some other friends from Afghanistan and Saudi Arabia, they were all Middle Eastern girls. Bro thought these girls were cool. Like, yeah, you know, they so pretty. This one is so cute. They cool to hang out with. You know, they're just like everybody else. You know, with nothing negative to say about them. Yet, for probably 6 to 8 months after he got back from Iraq, he had to fight to get to stop calling them Haji bitches. We're just Haji bitches today. Why they gotta be Haji bitches, bro? They are friends. I know that, but I can't stop saying it. Because it had been, for lack of a better word, he had to fight the brainwashing that the training from going into combat had done. But what the point of calling them Haji bitches was the same reason I said in another video why black people became niggas, Asians became zipperheads, gooks, and whatever else, Germans became Jerrys, the British became redcoats, and Native Americans became redskins. Those nicknames were to separate the humanity from a person so that it's easier for you to hate them, so that it's easier for you to kill them if Uncle Sam tells you to. Chris Kyle was doing his job. Another example from my brother that's very relevant to this subject. His second tour of duty, the insurgency had happened. You know, they were no longer, the first time they were fighting Iraqi's military. The second time the military had been done, the United States military now occupies Iraq. The local Iraqis are pissed. Get these dang Americans out of here. We want to go back to life like it was. We want a new president. What's taking them so long being here? The locals start picking up guns and shooting American soldiers. That's the insurgency. Now, these are no longer military men. They're no longer wearing uniforms. They walking around in sandals and t-shirts and jeans, popping caps at American soldiers, making improvised IEDs, all these other things, just because they don't want Americans in their country no more. You see what I'm saying? So the average soldier can't tell the difference between an insurgent. No one can tell the difference between an insurgent and a regular Iraqi until they pull out a gun and start shooting at them. So when his second tour of duty happened, he gets this briefing. He has a video of all the soldiers they standing in the desert, basically, some shacks around them. They must have been on camp something. And they're all kneeling down on one knee. And one of their higher ups, I don't know the guy, probably some sergeant or something, is telling them, hey, look, you don't know who's good from who's bad. Keep your head on a swivel. Protect yourself at all times. And the thing about these guys is if they're not an insurgent, they're related to one. They're likely related to one. So even though they may feel that what this insurgent is doing is bad, they're still not going to turn them in because they don't want to see their son or their cousin or their nephew or their dad or whoever, grandfather, whoever he may be, caught by the American government because they don't know. They know that dude gonna get tortured. They actually really have no idea what's gonna happen to him once he leaves. They just know that they zip tie his hands together, put a pillowcase over his head, throw him in the back of a Humvee, and you never see him again. That happened. Would you, even if your brothers, that's hard to say that you're gonna let Uncle Jim let that happen to Uncle Jim. But that was happening. Now, this brings me to the point of this video. Who in American society do we tell, hey, you're not going to know who wants you dead and who doesn't? Your job is dangerous. You need to keep your head on a swivel. And if that person right there did not commit the crime, they know who did, and they're just not going to tell them because there's a such thing as no snitching. Who do we tell that to on American soil? Who in America is giving military weapons, military style training? Who? The police. So when I see these cops, and to compare really what I'm saying, Chris Kyle's book was really hateful to the person on the other end of his gun. So it made sense that maybe Darren Wilson would say some really hateful things to the person on the other end of his gun. Did Darren Wilson not describe Mike Brown as a snorting demon? Paraphrase. Did he not say that? His nose was flaring up. He looked like a demon. Did he not say that? Exactly. Response to training. I have to make you less of a human. That way I can kill you. You're not a human. You're whatever term the police call criminals. A suspect. An individual. But you're not a person. You're not a man. You see what I'm saying? You think they're not being trained? Watch that video from Walmart of whatever that Beaver Creek Police Department officer's name was who killed John Crawford. Watch how low he makes his profile. Watch how tight he comes in. Watch how he holds that assault rifle. Watch how he ducks. And then watch how he runs through there at that certain speed. Goes around that corner, bang, 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 to end the discussion. Kills a man. He looks just like when you watch these American soldiers doing raids on houses in Afghanistan. Even when you see them moving up, changing positions during assaults, during their little practicing, when they're in training, they move that same way. That is military style training. But the only difference, and I'll even put it like this, watch First 48 to give you the other example of, they're related, they're not going to say nothing. That's what they said in Iraq, right? Watch First 48. Here's your prime example. Somebody in Overtown gets killed. 60 people outside. It's the middle of the day. Nobody saw nothing. Because in America, just like in Afghanistan, according to the police, you're probably related to the killer, or it's no snitching. Stop snitching, don't say nothing. That's normal. The police deal with that every day. So they're being trained to mirror the exact same thing that the soldiers do. The only problem that I have with that training, the biggest problem that I have with that training is this. American soldiers in Afghanistan and American soldiers in Iraq have something that the police don't have. They have the fact that they are American soldiers in a foreign country. It's us versus them. When police are trained to be us versus them, that's my problem. Because us versus them separates the police from feeling as if they're part of the community that they're supposed to be protecting. And it seems like they're no longer protecting the community. They're at war with the community. War on drugs. War on gangbanging. War on this. War on that. War on prostitution. They've come from protecting the community to having war against the community. And that's why things are happening the way they're happening. So the police officers, I say this. You're not some outside force. When you wake up in the morning and you get little John dressed for school and you put little John on the bus, he goes to a bus, he goes to a school. He rides a bus and goes to a school with everybody else's kids. When you leave work and you take your uniform off and you go to the grocery store, you go to a grocery store with the rest of us. On Sunday morning, when you go to church with the rest of us. When you want to have a drink and you go to a bar, you go to a bar with the rest of us. This is not us versus them. You are one of us. Start acting like it. And to the people, it's really easy to say racist police, Black Lives Matter, and run around in circles yelling Black Lives Matter. But it's effective to go at that training. It's going to hurt. It's going to take a little bit longer. You're going to have to know what the hell you're talking about. They're going to make you look like a fool if they can, but it's going to make a change. If you want to make some changes, go at that training. What we're doing right now with the whole racism thing, part of it is racism. Part of it is a result of training, and it's really not about race, but that's a whole nother video that I'm not even going to get into. I might make another video later on this week or something. But what you see is training. If you want to change something, change that mentality. Change what's going in that officer's head. Be a part of community this, community that. Stop just standing in the street saying Black Lives Matter. We want to stop the police from being racist and killing young black men. How? How? Where do you start? That's my point. My name is Mr. Young, 702. These are just lessons that I've learned saying that, hey, maybe the police and the military are getting trained the same way. Right? Subscribe. Do whatever you're going to do. Mr. Young, 702. Peace.